Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast Special Edition Show, the 2022 NFL Predictions Show. First, I'm going to do standings, then I'm going to do the awards, the All-Pro team, the All-Rookie team, best rookies, most improved / breakout, make or break players, disappointing players, bounce back, comeback players, and a lot more to come. All right, we'll start at the standings. And we'll start at the AFC East like we usually do. Coming in first in this division with a record of 12-5, I have the Buffalo Bills. The Bills, team to beat in this division for sure. Josh Allen's one of the best 5 quarterbacks in football, maybe even top 3, you could argue. Offensive line's pretty good. Running game should be better than it is, although it looks good on paper. Great receiving core. They have some big names on defense. They added Von Miller in the offseason to improve their pass rush. Trey White out the first 4 weeks in the secondary, but he's still a valuable piece for them defensively. And then their special teams should be good as well. Coming in second in this division with a record of 8-9, the Miami Dolphins. I think this is one of the more overhyped teams of the season. Tua Tagovailoa in a big year. They get Tyreek Hill in the offseason. Raheem Mostert improves their running game. Their offensive line, to me, still stinks, although it added former State Teron Armstead. Defensively, I don't like their defense at all as a whole, but their secondary should be good with several blue chippers in there. In Byron Jones, Javon Holland, and Xavier Howard. Jason Sanders is a decent kicker. Should be better than he was last year. And then they are good on special teams as a whole. In third in this division, I have the record of 7-10, the New England Patriots. This is one of the many teams I have taking a step back this season. From nearly being the 1 seed a year ago to having double-digit losses. Not ideal for Bill Belichick. Mac Jones, I do think, will show improvement in year 2, but I don't know if it'll be enough. The offensive line's worse than it usually is. I don't like his receiving core. Damian Howard is a solid running back. Defensively, the unit, I don't think, is as good as a whole as it once was. Some solid players still left on defense, such as McCourty in the secondary, Jason McCourty. A lot of key losses on that side of the ball over the past few years. Special teams, Nick Folk. I don't know if I'm a big Nick Folk fan. I think he's seen better days as an elite kicker. And in the cellar in this division, I have the record of 5-12, the New York Jets. People are banking on Zach Wilson making a year 2 leap. I know the Jets are also banking on that, and it's not even a guarantee he plays in week 1. Breece Hall is picked in the second round to try to improve the running game. I don't like their offensive line. Mekhi Becton's out for the year. George Fant replaces him. I do like Elijah Vera Tucker in the interior. I do think he is one of the more improved players coming into year 2 of the year 2 players. And then on defense, they get Sauce Gardner in the draft to shore up their secondary, and they get Jermaine Johnson to shore up their pass rush in the draft. And I forgot to mention Garrett Wilson, the receiver, as the other first-round pick they have. So, as great as a draft the Jets had, I don't think they are ready to compete yet. The AFC North, I have in first place with a record of 11-6, the Cincinnati Bengals. This Bengals team, I think, is being disrespected. I think everybody's penciling the Baltimore Ravens to win this division because of their injury luck from a year ago. But I like Cincinnati. They improved their offensive line. Joe Burrow is a top 5 quarterback in this league. Joe Mixon's a top 5 running back, arguably, in this league. They have one of the best receiving cores in all football, led by Jamar Chase. They upgraded tight end, arguably, with Hayden Hurst. Offensive line, they get some new additions. Alex Kappa from the Bucks joins that unit, and Teddy Karras from New England comes over as well. Defensively, I think their defense might take a step back from a year ago, but I just think their offense is so good that they can overcome that. I think the best part of their defense is their secondary, led by Jesse Bates. Their pass rush is okay. And Evan McPherson's one of the best young kickers in the league, so their special teams should be good. Coming in second in this division, I have at the record of 9-8, the Baltimore Ravens. I'm not as big as others on the Ravens this year. I think that Lamar, the pressure's on for him to have a monster year, reminiscent to his 2019 breakout year where he won the MVP. Contract extension not done yet. That makes me nervous. Who are his receivers other than Mark Andrews at tight end? And you have J.K. Dobbins coming back from the ACL injury. Rashad Bateman, a ton of pressure on that kid to make a leap. Offensive line's really good. Ronnie Stanley coming back from injury. Pass rush, very good. They have some veterans on there that I like. And then in the secondary, you have Marcus Peters and Marlon Humphrey both coming back from injuries as well. Marcus Williams comes over in free agency from the Saints. And in special teams, Justin Tucker, the best in the business at kicking. In third place, I have in this division with the record of 8-9, the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers, to me, are going to take a step back. I understand the argument that they upgraded a quarterback from washed-up Ben Roethlisberger to the Mitch Trubisky-Kenny Pickett combo. But the problem with the Steelers that I have is their offensive line. It is one of the worst offensive lines in the league, and that's why I do not have them in the postseason. Probably the sole reason why I don't have them in the postseason, because you can get to the playoffs with poor quarterback play. We've seen it with Pittsburgh last year, ironically enough, but I don't think their offensive line is very good, and it's worse than last year. But that said, they do have great skill position guys like Najee Harris at running back, and at receiver they have Chase Claypool. Everybody loves George Pickens, the rookie. So, to me, the story for Pittsburgh is, when are we going to see Kenny Pickett? Obviously, and then the strength of the Steelers, as it is each and every year, is their defense. T.J. Watt, best pass rusher in the league now, I think, in terms of edge rushers. Secondary, Minkah Fitzpatrick, I think, will have a better year than he did a year ago. And then Chris Boswell is one of the best kickers in the league, so they're fine on special teams. And in fourth in this division, I have with the record of 6-11, the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, Jacoby Brissett's going to start the year at quarterback. He was terrible a year ago. Deshaun Watson out, obviously, the first probably 2/3 of the year. I'd say, 11 games. So that's the reason why Cleveland is at the record where they have it. Their skill position guys, I don't think are as good as they were in the past. Amari Cooper comes over from Dallas, but I don't think he is much of an upgrade over what they did have with Baker. Running backs are really good, obviously. They have a good offensive line. I do like their tight ends. Defensively, Myles Garrett, one of the best pass rushers in football. And then their secondary, I really do like Denzel Ward. I think he is a star if he isn't already. So, there you have it with the Browns. The AFC South in first place, I have with a record of 10-7, the Indianapolis Colts. They're the pick here by default, pretty much. They do have the best roster in the division, hands down. Matt Ryan's an upgrade at quarterback over Carson Wentz. Jonathan Taylor, best running back in football for me. Their receivers, T.Y. Hilton's gone. Michael Pittman's asked to do a lot. Paris Campbell, a lot of people have mixed the thoughts on. And then they have that rookie Alec Pierce that a lot of people are high on. Mo Alley Cox is their tight end. Offensive line, I don't really think is as good as people are making it out to be. I know it was good last year for Jonathan Taylor, but they did lose a couple key pieces on that line from a year ago, which I think could hurt them in the long run. Defensively, they do have some names on defense. Yannick Ngakoue, Shaq Leonard in the pass rush, and then they have Stephon Gilmore in the secondary. That was their big pickup for them in the secondary. So they're an interesting team for sure. And second in this division, I have at the record of 7-10, the Tennessee Titans. I think this team goes from first in the division with home field advantage in the postseason to double-digit losses. Ryan Tannehill, I think, is a quarterback under pressure to have a good season. Derrick Henry coming off that injury, although he did play in the playoff game last year in which they lost. The offensive line, I don't think is really as good as it once was. I do like Taylor Lewan, though. Treylon Burks replaces A.J. Brown at receiver, but I don't think that Burks is going to match the production that A.J. Brown gave them. Robert Woods comes over from the Rams as a free agent. So a lot of turnover on the Titans offense for sure. Austin Hooper, the tight end, is there now too. Defense, I think their defense stinks personally. Their pass rush has a couple solid players on it. Jeffrey Simmons I like in the interior. And then in the secondary, there's some young guys I like on the secondary, but I don't know if they'll come through this season or not. In third in this division, third, I have with the record of 6-11, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I was tempted to flip-flop Tennessee and Jacksonville in terms of the order in this division, but I didn't. Jacksonville is getting a lot of hype in terms of a team that could surprise this year because of the leap or possible leap of Trevor Lawrence. And people are comparing them to the Bengals from last year. And rightfully so, because they spent a lot of money this offseason like Cincinnati did last offseason, and it got Cincinnati to the Super Bowl. I don't think it'll get the Jaguars that far, because I still think there's so many flaws on this roster. Their offensive line stinks, but then again, the Bengals' offensive line stunk last year. They don't have as good as offensive weapons as Cincinnati does, although they did Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram, who I don't like either of them. Travis Etienne's coming back from his injury. This is technically his rookie year. James Robinson is also at running back. Their offensive line stinks. They have some names on there from the past in terms of overhyped draft picks where they never panned out. Like Jawan Taylor, Cam Robinson. Although Robinson, they did give a contract extension to, if I'm not mistaken. Defensively, they're a mess. A lot of people like the guy they picked first overall, Trayvon Walker. I do like Josh Allen. I think their secondary stinks, though. And in the cellar, I have with the record of 4-13 the Houston Texans. I just think this team's terrible. Davis Mills is still their quarterback. They have a really nice young rookie starting at running back for them. Damian Pierce, who is a sleeper to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. But I don't like the Texans' offensive line at all. I think that unit is so bad outside of Laramie Tunsil. And a couple of other veterans I sort of like on that line. Brandon Cooks is still on the Texans, weirdly enough. I don't really love their tight ends. And then defensively, they stink. Like, J.J. Watt's not walking through that door. They have a lot of cast-offs from teams that didn't like him. Like Desmond King and people like that. But I do like Derek Stingley Jr. I think is a candidate for Defensive Rookie of the Year. And I don't know if I really like their special teams either. The AFC West, the best division of football, coming in first place in this division, I have with the record of 12-5, the Los Angeles Chargers. I think Justin Herbert's going to have a monster season. He has a great offensive line protecting him. He has a ton of weapons around him. Austin Eckler at running back, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams at receiver. Former Ram Gerald Everett at tight end. And on defense, they're stacked in the pass rush led by Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. Secondary, they add J.C. Jackson in the offseason. So they are absolutely loaded, and I think their special teams are even better too, because that was their bugaboo. The only thing that makes me nervous about the Chargers is Brandon Staley and whether he's a good head coach or not. I mean, he does have some guts, and has shown aggressiveness in the past, but I don't know if he's the guy for this team. Number 2, the Kansas City Chiefs, I have at 11-6. Patrick Mahomes is still Patrick Mahomes as far as I'm concerned. The offensive line has some names on it, but I don't know if they'll actually gel as a unit. They lose Tyreek Hill, and they add former Steeler Juju Smith-Schuster and former Packer Marquez Valdes-Scantling. They got a hit on one of those guys. They have a lot of rookies like Sky Moore on the depth chart that they like as well. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a solid running back. Travis Kelce's the best tight end in football. Defensively, Chris Jones moves back to the middle, which is a good thing for their defense. Frank Clark, maybe a bounce-back year for him. Don't love their secondary, though, but never know these kinds of things. In third place in this division, I have with the record of 10-7, the Denver Broncos. Russell Wilson comes in. They finally get that big upgrade at quarterback that the team has been missing since Peyton Manning in his swan song, which was kind of like a prime for him in his first 2 Denver seasons. They have a good running back combo in Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon, but everybody loves Williams. Their receivers are really good. KJ Hamler coming off injury. Jerry Jeudy's a really talented receiver. Cortland Sutton's really good. They trade away Noah Fant in the Wilson deal, but I don't think that's going to matter. Their offensive line, I like their exterior, don't love their interior very much. Defensively, they need Bradley Chubb to bounce back in the worst way. I think that he's somebody under immense pressure to have a big season this year. And in the secondary, they have one of the best ones in the entire league, led by Justin Simmons and Ronald Darby and, of course, Patrick Surtain. And then they have Brandon McManus still as their kicker, which is really amazing. I remember when they acquired him in a trade from the Giants. I remember that. And the Giants got like a 5th or a 6th round pick for him, weirdly enough. I remember that. And in the Southernest Division, I have the record of 9-8. The best last place team in football by a mile, going to be this year, the Las Vegas Raiders. Derek Carr, I think, is in his best situation ever to succeed. Devontae Adams comes over in a deal from the Packers. Everybody loves Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, still around the tight end. Josh Jacobs, very good running back. Offensive line could be an issue, but I do like the tackle, Colton Miller. On the opposite side of the ball, they add Chandler Jones to their pass rush. Their secondary is still shaky, although there's some guys in that particular unit of their defense that had good years last year, like Nate Hobbs. And then they have one of the best kickers in football in Daniel Carlson. The NFC East, I have winning this division with a record of 10-7, the Philadelphia Eagles. This was a pick that I didn't really want to make, but I had to make because of some things going on with the Dallas Cowboys, which I'll get to. A lot of pressure on Jalen Hurts to have a big season. Miles Sanders should have a good year behind that really good Eagles offensive line. Then you have really good receivers. A.J. Brown comes over in the trade. You have Devontae Smith looking to make a year or two breakout. And then Dallas Goedert is a super underrated tight end in this league. Defensively, Brandon Graham back from injury. That should help them. Fletcher Cox, they did not get rid of him completely. He's still there in the interior of their defensive line. And then their secondary, I don't love it, but Darius Slay's a really good defensive back. And they have an underrated kicker, too, in Jake Elliott. In second in this division, I have the record of 9-8, the Dallas Cowboys. I initially was going to pick Dallas to win the NFC East, but there are some things that made me sway over to the Philadelphia Eagles. Dak Prescott, under pressure, I think, to have a good year after the terrible playoff performance against San Francisco. Not that strong of a roster as it used to be. Tyron Smith out until maybe December, which is brutal for Dallas, and that is one of the big reasons why I switched them with Philly. So I don't know if the running game's going to be as good as it used to be. CeeDee Lamb, I think, is going to have a big season at wide receiver. I like the tight end, Dalton Schultz. And then we'll obviously see with the Elliott Pollard combo at running back. Defensively, their defense was actually pretty good last year. Got a ton of takeaways. I think their defense takes a step back. I like DeMarcus Lawrence in their pass rush. Trayvon Diggs, I don't think will have as big as a year as he did a year ago. And Micah Parsons is a star blossoming before our very own eyes in that pass rush for Dallas. And they're in trouble special teams wise because apparently they don't have a kicker. I'm going to double check and make sure they don't have a kicker. And they don't. Is Brian Anger going to make kicks for them? He's their punter. That's worrisome. In third in this division, I have the record of 6-11. The Washington Commanders. They get Carson Wentz in a deal with Indy. I don't like Carson Wentz. I think he only had one good season, and he tore his ACL and was never the same. I think their running game has some interesting things going on. Antonio Gibson buried in the preseason. They love Brian Robertson, who is going to be back from his situation. Logan Thomas coming back at tight end from injury. I like Terry McLaurin. Offensive line is so-so. Brandon Scherf's gone, which stinks for them. Defensively, the pass rush is good, although no Chase Young is a big deal. He re-aggravated his ACL, which is a huge deal for me for the Commanders. Now part of me regrets not picking them to finish in last because of that potentially. Because I think Chase Young is amazing in terms of his upside. He really hasn't put it all together yet. But I think once he's healthy, he absolutely is capable of doing so. Their secondary is a couple good players in there that I actually like. And then the rest of their pass rush, outside of Young, who's hurt, isn't bad either. And that's why I don't have them in the cellar. But if the Young thing lingers, then I might have some regrets. And then their special teams is okay. And in the cellar in this division, I have the record of 5-12, the New York Giants. Daniel Jones is still the quarterback, but who knows? Maybe he's better with the new coach and Brian DeBall. Saquon Barkley's in a contract year, so he's under a lot of pressure to have a good season. Their offensive line's better with the drafting of Evan Neal. Andrew Thomas in year 3, maybe he takes another step forward. Mark Lewinsky comes over in free agency. I don't love their weapons as much as some others do. A lot of people like Wan'Dale Robinson, the rookie receiver. They have some questions at the tight end position. There's apparently starting a rookie there as well. Defensively, their pass rush isn't terrible. I think Kayvon Thibodeau is going to make that unit better once he's healthy. I like Leonard Williams and I like Dexter Lawrence. And their secondary might not be that bad either. Although losing James Bradbury because of cap issues was a problem. Xavier McKinney I really like in the secondary, but actually I think when I think about it, I don't think the secondary is going to be good. Their pass rush might be better, but I don't think the secondary is going to be that good. And they have good special teams too with the kicker and Graham Gano. And they have a new punter as well. NFC North, I have winning with the division with the record of 11-6, the Green Bay Packers. 2-time MVP Aaron Rodgers is back. Full-time with the Packers. So no more distractions hanging over that franchise's head for the time being. Great running back combo with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. Wide receiver core isn't good anymore with Devontae Adams gone. They're banking on Randall Cobb to turn back the clock and some rookies. And then they're banking on the tight ends Mercedes Lewis and Robert Tonyan to come through as well. Offensive line, though, is really, really good. David Bakhtiari back from injury. Elgton Jenkins, really underrated player. Defensively, I think their defense is one of the more underrated defenses in the entire league. Rashawn Gary is one of the more improved pass rushers in the entire league. Kenny Clark, Dean Lowry ain't bad either. Secondary is awesome, led by Jair Alexander and Adrian Samos. What's the safety's name that I like? Adrian Amos. There we go. And then Mason Crosby, though, is a concern for me. He's just a kicker that is in decline. It's been in decline for several years. In second place in this division, I have the record of 10-7, the Minnesota Vikings. I think this is one of the prime bounce-back teams this year. They actually had a tough 2 years. New head coach, which is a good thing. Kirk Cousins, I think, will be better. Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison, really good running back combo. Best receiver duo in the league with Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson. Offensive line I have concerns about, but I do like Kevin O'Connell, though. I think he's going to come in and do a good job. Defensively, Danielle Hunter still around on the pass rush. The rest of the pass rush to me is kind of blah. Secondary has some big names, but some of the guys are kind of in decline. I do like Harrison Smith, though. And their special teams to me are still a little questionable. In third in this division, I have the record of 6-11, the Detroit Lions. They're a very popular sleeper pick to make the postseason, but to me, the Hard Knocks team never makes the playoffs. So, see ya, Detroit. Jared Goff, to me, is a solid quarterback, but I don't think he's the long-term solution for the Lions. I do like their offensive line, so I expect the running game to be good. Amon-Ra St. Brown came out of nowhere in the second half of last year. I think he'll produce big time for them. And I do think that Jameson Williams, once he gets healthy, will produce for them at receiver too. I do like TJ Hawkinson at tight end as well. Defensively, I still think they're a hot mess. They have no real pass rush to speak of outside the rookie Aiden Hutchinson, who I think is going to be asked to do a lot. And their secondary I don't love either, although I do like a couple of the guys they have in their secondary. And I don't really like their special teams either. And in the cellar in this division, I have with the record of 4-13 the Chicago Bears. There's a lot of people that think that this is the worst team in the league. I think this is arguably the worst team in the NFC as a whole. I feel really sorry for Justin Fields, a year 2 quarterback for them, and he just isn't getting the weapons and the support he has, or he should get. Terrible offensive line, literally no skilled position players. People like Darnell Mooney. I'm not a big Darnell Mooney person. Like, people are making him out to be like he's Allen Robinson. He's nowhere as good as Allen Robinson is. And defensively, they trade Khalil Mack. That unit's worse. Secondary, not good either. I do like Eddie Jackson, though. And their special teams, they have a solid kicker, but that's really about it. The NFC South, I have winning the division with the record of 12-5. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I like this Buccaneers team. I think that they're really solid still. Tom Brady's back after his little retirement. I think he realized that he had some regrets, so he decided to come back. The running game, I think will be okay, but not as good as it usually is. I think the loss of Ryan Jensen in the center is brutal for them. Great receiving core, though, led by Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. But the rest of the offensive line, I think, will be okay. Pass rush, I think, is really good on paper, but they have a lot of aging guys and guys in decline on it. And their secondary, I think, is the opposite. A lot of guys I think are on the come. And they have really good special teams as well. Coming in second in this division, I have the record of 10-7, the New Orleans Saints. I like the Saints team more than most. The only thing that scares me is the fact that Dennis Allen's their head coach, and he was awful with with the Raiders. And Jameis Winston, he has the talent around him. He just has to succeed now. Alvin Kamara, possible suspension looming. Michael Thomas back from injury. We'll see how he looks. Chris Olave, I think, is the front runner for the Offensive Rookie of the Year award. I like the tight end Adam Trautman. Really good offensive line. Their pass rush, I think, is one of the more underrated pass rushes in the league, led by Demario Davis and Cam Jordan. Secondary, they lost Marcus Williams. They replaced him with Marcus May. That's a downgrade, but not significant. I do like Marshawn Lattimore. I think he'll have a good season. And Will Lutz is back from injury as well. That's the kicker. Coming in third in this division, I have with the record of 6-11, the Carolina Panthers. There are some folks that think that this could be a surprise playoff team in the NFC. I'm not one of those people. I think there's still some holes on this roster. And a coach that's under pressure to get fired in Matt Rule. Baker Mayfield maybe change the scenery. Maybe. We'll see. You have Christian McCaffrey, who's looking to have a big season and avoid the IR. Offensive line's better with the drafting of Ikem Ekwonu. Really good receivers with Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore. Maybe Tommy Tremble breaks out at tight end. We'll see. Defensively, they have some guys I like. They have a really good pass rush. I like Shaq Thompson. I like Brian Burns. Derek Brown could be a breakout guy on the defense. And then their secondary, I don't necessarily love, though. That could be an issue. And I don't like their special teams either. And in the cellar of this division, I have the record of 4-13, the Atlanta Falcons. I think they're awful. Marcus Mariota's their starting quarterback. Cordell Patterson, to me, is more of a special teams player rather than an actual running back, although he did succeed as a running back. Their offensive line might be a little better than people are giving credit for, but we'll have to see about that. No Calvin Ridley for the season because of the suspension. A lot of pressure on Drake London to have a big year for Atlanta. And then defensively, they have one good pass rusher in Jarrett. And I really don't like their secondary either. So Atlanta is just a team, for me, that is in complete disarray. So I think that another secret he might get fired candidate if things go as bad as they might go is Arthur Smith, who a lot of people like. So that's going to be interesting. And I'm talking about Grady Jarrett. I think that that's literally a one-man defense in Atlanta. And the NFC West, I have winning this division with a record of 12-5. The Los Angeles Rams, reigning Super Bowl champions, could be a potential hangover in the beginning of the year. Matt Stafford obviously was the right choice in terms of quarterback to replace Jared Goff, who I think Sean McVay felt like was their downfall, and he was probably right. I don't like their offensive line, though. That's the only thing that concerns me with the Rams. The running backs are good on paper, but I don't know if they could succeed as great with the poor offensive line. I love Cooper Kupp. I think he's the best receiver in football. Allen Robinson's a big addition to that team. I like Higbee at tight end. Defensively, Aaron Donald, best overall player in the league, I think, let alone best defensive tackle. That's a one-man pass rusher, it was. until Von Miller got there last year, and now they have Bobby Wagner there as well. And then their secondary is pretty solid, led by Jalen Ramsey, who's the best corner in the game. And their special teams, Johnny Hecker's gone, which I don't think is that great. But their kicker, Matt Gay, is actually pretty good. In second place in this division, I have with the record of 10-7, the San Francisco 49ers. The big storyline here is that Trey Lance is the starting quarterback, but Jimmy Garoppolo is still on the roster after the team opted to keep him rather than trade or cut him. I do think that there's a possibility he is traded in the middle of the season, and I think the 49ers did the right thing by keeping him on the roster for the time being in case of an injury, even the Trey Lance for that matter. Offensive line, I have some questions, but obviously Trent Williams makes up for a lot of those questions that I have. Their running game should be good with Elijah Mitchell. Deebo Samuel's back in the fold. Him and Ayuk at receiver. You have George Kittle at tight end, who's the best in the NFC, in my opinion, at that position. And the defensive line, Nick Bosa leads the way. He's amazing. And obviously the rest of the pass rush is pretty solid, led by Eric Armstead and Fred Warner. So I think that the Niners are in good hands on defense and the pass rush, and their secondary has some questions in my opinion, but they're usually a team that puts it together. Jimmy Ward should be back from injury sooner rather than later. Special teams, they have one of the best kicking, punting combos in the league with Mitch Wisnowski and Robbie Gould. And I can't forget about Kyle Juszczyk, the best fullback in football. That's what they have as well. So I want to throw that out there. In third in this division, I have with the record of 8-9, the Arizona Cardinals. I don't think that they're going to be as good as they were last year. I have taking a huge step back. Kyler Murray, they pay all that money to, but they really tortured him in the offseason with like the homework assignments and whatnot. And then obviously DeAndre Hopkins out for the first several weeks of the season hurts them offensively. They get Marquise Brown in the trade from the Ravens. I do like James Conner, but not as much as others do. Their offensive line, I think, is okay, but I don't think it's one of the better ones in football. Defensively, J.J. Watt's still around on their pass rush. They lose Chandler Jones, which is a big loss for them. A lot of guys on that side of the ball under pressure to make the next step, like Isaiah Simmons and some other players as well in the secondary, like Byron Murphy. But Baker's still on this team, amazingly enough. He's okay. And then their special teams is okay. I don't love their special teams. Andy Lee, to me, is an okay punter. He was good when he was on the Niners, but I don't think he's as good as he used to be, per se. Okay, now we'll go to the fourth place team in this division with a record of 4-13, the Seattle Seahawks. I think their team is terrible. It's an understatement saying that Russell Wilson to Geno Smith is a downgrade. It's worse than a downgrade. It's literally a garbage downgrade. I think Geno Smith's the worst starting quarterback in the league that's not a rookie. I just think that he's a joke. The offensive line is bad, but Geno does have some talent around him, like Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, the guy from Denver, Noah Fant. And then defensively, I don't like their pass rush at all. They lose Bobby Wagner. That's a loss for them in their front seven. And then their secondary, they have some losses there as well. So the days of Legion of Boom are over. And their kicker, Jason Myers, is okay, but I don't think he's as good as he was when he was on the Jets. All right, now we'll go to the playoff teams. In the AFC, my 1 seed is the Buffalo Bills. 2, the Los Angeles Chargers. 3, the Cincinnati Bengals. 4, the Indianapolis Colts. And my wild cards, 5, the Kansas City Chiefs. 6, the Denver Broncos. And number 7, the Las Vegas Raiders. Okay, and in the NFC, my 1 seed is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. My 2 is the Los Angeles Rams. 3, the Green Bay Packers. 4, the Philadelphia Eagles. Wild cards, 5, the New Orleans Saints. 6, the San Francisco 49ers. And 8, or 7, the Minnesota Vikings. All right, to the playoffs. Wild card round, AFC. You have 7 seed Las Vegas Raiders against the 2 seed Los Angeles Chargers. A matchup that will be being played in week 1. I have in round 1 of the playoffs. And I think that Justin Herbert will power the Chargers to a big win over the Raiders, as that offensive line against the Raiders pass rush is, to me, a complete mismatch. And obviously the Raiders secondary against the Chargers receivers is a mismatch as well for the Chargers. Next up, I have the 6 seed Denver Broncos at the 3 seed Cincinnati Bengals. Interesting matchup. You have Russell Wilson in the playoffs for the first time in a while against upcoming quarterback on the rise, Joe Burrow and the Bengals. I don't see the Bengals losing in round 1, so I'm going to go with the Bengals over the Broncos. And then 5 seed Kansas City Chiefs at the 4 seed Indianapolis Colts. No way in hell Mahomes loses in round 1, so I'm going Mahomes and the Chiefs over the Colts. The NFC wildcard, I have 7 seed Minnesota Vikings at the 2 seed Los Angeles Rams. So Minnesota at an NFC West team again, and I think that the Rams will beat Kirk Cousins and the Vikings. 6 seed San Francisco 49ers at 3 seed Green Bay Packers. So the second round rematch here in the first round. Trey Lance first playoff game. I don't think it's going to go well. Give me Aaron Rodgers and the Packers over Lance and the Niners. And then 5 seed New Orleans Saints at the 4 seed Philadelphia Eagles. This was a playoff game. My goodness, Nick Foles' breakthrough year. That was 2013-14 season. And New Orleans went in there in Philadelphia and won. Barely. I think the same result happens. I'm going to say the Saints and Jameis Winston knock off Jalen Hurts and the Eagles in the postseason. The division round. Here's a good one. Rematch of the division round from a year ago, except in Buffalo. So the Kansas City Chiefs at the Buffalo Bills. Shootout time. Mahomes versus Allen. You know the deal. Home field advantage will prevail for Buffalo. So give me the Bills over the Chiefs. Next up, 3 seed Cincinnati Bengals at the 2 seed Los Angeles Chargers. So Burrow at Herbert. That's awesome. Power against power. I'm going to go with Herbert and the Chargers over Burrow and the Bengals. I just think that this is where the Bengals get exposed defensively a little bit. 5 seed New Orleans Saints at the 1 seed Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Saints have owned the Bucs in the regular season in the Tom Brady Bucs era. But the Bucs picked them off in New Orleans in the postseason several years ago. And I think the same result will happen again, except in Tampa Bay. So I'm with the Buccaneers over the Saints. And then the 3 seed Green Bay Packers at the 2 seed Los Angeles Rams. McVay against Rodgers, that's a lot of fun. But it's in LA. I know the Cheeseheads will be all over Los Angeles. But the better team is the Los Angeles Rams. And the best player in that game is Aaron Donald. So give me the Rams over the Packers. Championship round. LA Chargers at the Buffalo Bills. So 2-1. You have Allen and Herbert. 2 explosive offenses. But I'm going to go with Herbert and the Chargers to get it done over Allen and the Bills. I just think that the Chargers offense could really get to that Bills secondary a little bit, although they have some shiny toys on that secondary. But I do like the Chargers here to advance to the Super Bowl. And then I have the 2 seed Los Angeles Rams at the 1 seed Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So round 2 rematch in the NFC title game. McVay against Brady. But this time I think Brady gets the best of McVay, so I'm going with Brady and the Bucs over McVay and the Rams. And in the Super Bowl, I have from the AFC, I have the Los Angeles Chargers. And then from the NFC, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Great game, great matchup. You have Herbert, you have Brady, you have that loaded Chargers offense, you have the Buccaneers offense, you have two head coaches who I really don't like, though, in Todd Bowles and Brandon Staley. But these are arguably the best two rosters in the entire league. I think both teams are absolutely loaded. I think the difference here is the injury to Ryan Jensen in the middle for Tampa Bay on the offensive line. If he was healthy, I probably would have picked the Buccaneers to win the Super Bowl. But he's not healthy. The Chargers have a healthy team. They're going to get J.C. Jackson back in this season. They're going to be informed by them. So give me the Los Angeles Chargers to win the Super Bowl for the 2022 season. Super Bowl 50, I think it's 57. Yes. It is Super Bowl 57. So, should be a lot of fun. And then Super Bowl MVP, I'm going to go, obviously, with the rising star and Justin Herbert. All right, awards. The MVP, I have Justin Herbert of the Los Angeles Chargers. He's the darling pick to win this award, and understandably so. He's a really young, special talent that's on the come. I think he's going to have a season similar to what Joe Burrow had last year, if not better. And he has better talent around him than Burrow did last year. Offensive Player of the Year, I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor of the Indianapolis Colts. I think he's the best running back in football. I think the Colts are going to run the ball a lot. And I think that Taylor, behind a solid offensive line, will get it done. Defensive Player of the Year, I'm going with Nick Bosa of the San Francisco 49ers. I think he'll stay healthy and man that 49ers pass rush and help them get to the postseason again. Offensive Rookie of the Year, I'm going to go with Chris Olave of the New Orleans Saints. I think he is a monster, and I think he is going to really benefit this year being a rookie and having a lot of talent around him. And Defensive Rookie of the Year, I'm going to go with Kyle Hamilton of the Baltimore Ravens. I chose Hamilton because he's going to be in a loaded secondary with Marcus Williams and Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters. And I really think he's going to benefit from that. Coach of the Year, I'm going to go with Kevin O'Connell of the Minnesota Vikings. Usually a coach that comes in his first year and gets the team to the postseason, gets it done. And the Vikings, after two lousy seasons, I think will have its best season in a couple of years. So I'm going to say Kevin O'Connell for Coach of the Year. And the Comeback Player of the Year, I'm going with Michael Thomas of the Saints. Obviously, Michael Thomas was amazing before he was injured the last several years. So I think he comes back and has his best season in 3 years for the New Orleans Saints. And runners-up for these awards. So MVP runner-up, I'm going to say Joe Burrow. Offensive Player of the Year runner-up, I'm going to say, I don't feel super about this runner-up pick that I'm about to make, but I'm going to say the runner-up's going to be Aaron Jones of Green Bay. Defensive Player of the Year, my runner-up is going to be Aaron Donald. Offensive Rookie of the Year runner-up, I am going to say Drake London of the Falcons. Defensive Rookie of the Year runner-up, I'm going to go with Kayvon Thibodeau of the New York Giants. Coach of the Year runner-up, I am going to say I don't feel good about this call because there's so many good coaches in the league. But I'm going to go with Nathaniel Hackett of the Denver Broncos as the runner-up for Coach of the Year. And the Comeback Player of the Year runner-up, this is a hard one too. But I guess I'll go with J.K. Dobbins of the Ravens for that. All right, the All-Pro team for 2022. Quarterback, Justin Herbert, Los Angeles Chargers. Running back, Jonathan Taylor, Indianapolis Colts. And Dalvin Cook of the Minnesota Vikings. Wide receivers, Devontae Adams of the Las Vegas Raiders and Cooper Kupp of the Los Angeles Rams. Tight end, Travis Kelce of the Kansas City Chiefs. Offensive tackles, Trent Williams of the 49ers and Ryan Ramczyk of the Saints. Guards, Zach Martin of the Cowboys and Quentin Nelson of the Colts. And center, Corey Linsley of the Los Angeles Chargers. Defensive ends, Nick Bosa of the 49ers and Myles Garrett of the Browns. Defensive tackles, Aaron Donald of the Rams and Cameron Hayward of the Steelers. Outside linebackers, TJ Watt of the Steelers and Joey Bosa of the Chargers. Inside linebackers, Shaq Leonard of the Colts and Bobby Wagner of the Rams. Cornerbacks, Jalen Ramsey of the Rams and J.C. Jackson of the Chargers. And safeties, Harrison Smith of the Vikings and Marcus Williams of the Ravens. Kicker, Justin Tucker, Ravens. Punter, A.J. Cole, Raiders. Kick returner, Isaiah McKenzie, Bills. Punt returner, Tyreek Hill, Dolphins. Special teams player, Matthew Slater, New England Patriots. And long snapper, Luke Rhodes, Indianapolis Colts. The all-rookie team. Quarterback, Kenny Pickett, Pittsburgh Steelers. Running backs, Breece Hall, New York Jets. And Kenneth Walker II, Seattle Seahawks. Wide receivers, Chris Olave, New Orleans Saints. And Treylon Burks, Tennessee Titans. Tight end, Jake Ferguson, Dallas Cowboys. Offensive tackles, Evan Neal, New York Giants, and Ikem Ekwonu of the Carolina Panthers. Guards, Zion Johnson, Los Angeles Chargers, and Ed Ingram, Minnesota Vikings. Center, Tyler Linderbaum, Baltimore Ravens. Defensive ends, Aiden Hutchinson of the Detroit Lions, and Kayvon Thibodeau of the New York Giants. Defensive tackles, Jordan Davis of the Philadelphia Eagles, and Devontae Wyatt of the Green Bay Packers. Outside linebackers, Trayvon Walker of the Jaguars and Myjai Sanders of the Arizona Cardinals. Inside linebacker, Devin Lloyd, Jacksonville Jaguars. Cornerbacks, Ahmad Sauce Gardner of the New York Jets and Derek Stingley Jr. of the Houston Texans. And safeties, Kyle Hamilton of the Ravens and Daxton Hill of the Cincinnati Bengals. Kicker, Cade York, Cleveland Browns. Punter, Jake Camarda, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Kick returner, Sky Moore, Kansas City Chiefs. And punt returner, Romeo Doubs, Green Bay Packers. Best rookies on every team. Arizona, Myjai Sanders. Atlanta, Drake London. Baltimore, Tyler Linderbaum. Buffalo, James Cook. Carolina, Ikem Ekwonu. Chicago, Velus Jones Jr. Cincinnati, Daxton Hill. Cleveland, David Bell. Dallas, Jake Ferguson. Denver, Greg Dulcich. Detroit, Aiden Hutchinson. Green Bay, Devontae Wyatt. Houston, Derek Stingley Jr. Indianapolis, Alec Pierce. Jacksonville, Devin Lloyd. Kansas City, George Karlaftis. Las Vegas, Dylan Parham. Los Angeles Chargers, Zion Johnson. Los Angeles Rams, Kyren Williams. Miami, Channing Tindall. Minnesota, Andrew Booth Jr. New England, Marcus Jones. New Orleans, Chris Olave. New York Jets, Sauce Gardner. New York Giants, Kayvon Thibodeau. Philadelphia, Jordan Davis. Pittsburgh, George Pickens. San Francisco, Danny Gray. Seattle, Kenneth Walker II. Tampa Bay, Logan Hall. Tennessee, Treylon Burks. And Washington, Jahan Dotson. Most improved players on every team. These are either guys I expect to break out or guys that just have improvements. Arizona, Rondale Moore. Atlanta, Richie Grant. Baltimore, Rashad Bateman. Buffalo, Gabriel Davis. Carolina, Tommy Tremble. Chicago, Cole Kmet. Cincinnati, T. Higgins. Cleveland, Greg Newsome II. Dallas, Tyler Biadasz. Denver, Jerry Jeudy. Detroit, Penei Sewell. Green Bay, Robert Tonyan. Houston, Jonathan Greenard. Indianapolis, Michael Pittman. Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence. Kansas City, Willie Gay Jr. Las Vegas, Trayvon Mulrig. Chargers, Asante Samuel Jr. Rams, Van Jefferson. Miami, Jalen Waddle. Minnesota, Christian Darrisaw. New England, Christian Barmore. New Orleans, Adam Trautman. Giants, Xavier McKinney. Jets, Elijah Vera Tucker. Philadelphia, Devontae Smith. Pittsburgh, Pat Freiermuth. San Francisco, Brandon Ayuk. Seattle, Damian Lewis. Tampa Bay, Joe Tyrone Shoyinka. Tennessee, Kristen Fulton. And Washington, Carmen Kuehl. Next up, make or break players. Players that I feel are facing make or break seasons. Arizona, Isaiah Simmons. Atlanta, Caleb McGarry. Baltimore, Patrick Queen. Buffalo, Tremaine Edmonds. Carolina, Baker Mayfield. Chicago, Roquan Smith. Cincinnati, Jermaine Pratt. Cleveland, Greedy Williams. Dallas, Leighton Vander Esch. Denver, Bradley Chubb. Detroit, Austin Siebert. Green Bay, Mason Crosby. Houston, Davis Mills. Indianapolis, Paris Campbell. Jacksonville, K'Lavon Chaisson. Kansas City, Mecole Hardman. Las Vegas, Jonathan Abrams. Chargers, Kenneth Murray. Raiders, Darrell Henderson. Miami, Tua Tagovailoa. Minnesota, Garrett Bradbury. New England, Jacoby Myers. New Orleans, Andres Pete. Giants, Saquon Barkley. Jets, Quinnen Williams. Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts. Pittsburgh, Devin Bush. San Francisco, Javon Kinlaw. Seattle, Rashad Penny. Tampa Bay, Devin White. Tennessee, Ryan Tannehill. And Washington, Antonio Gibson. Next up, disappointment players. Players that I think are going to disappoint this season from every team. Arizona, Marquise Brown. Atlanta, Marcus Mariota. Baltimore, Justin Houston. Buffalo, Von Miller. Carolina, Johnny Hekker. Chicago, Justin Fields. Cincinnati, Ted Karras. Cleveland, Amari Cooper. Dallas, Trayvon Diggs. Denver, Melvin Gordon. Detroit, Tracy Walker. Green Bay, Randall Cobb. Houston, Steven Nelson. Indianapolis, Yannick Ngakoue. Jacksonville, Evan Ingram. Kansas City, Justin Reed. Las Vegas Raiders, Chandler Jones. Chargers, Bryce Callahan. Rams, Leonard Floyd. Miami, Tyreek Hill. Minnesota, Harrison Phillips. New England, Nick Folk. New Orleans, Jarvis Landry. Giants, Kenny Golladay. Jets, George Fant. Philadelphia, James Bradbury. Pittsburgh, Miles Jack. San Francisco, Samson Ebukam. Seattle, Geno Smith. Tampa Bay, Akeem Hicks. Tennessee, Caleb Farley. And Washington, Carson Wentz. And now we are going to do the bounce back players on every team. Either guys bouncing back from tough years or coming back from injury. Arizona, Rodney Hudson. Atlanta, Damian Williams. Baltimore, J.K. Dobbins. Buffalo, Mitch Morse. Carolina, Robbie Anderson. Chicago, Eddie Jackson. Cincinnati, Hayden Hurst. Cleveland, Jedrick Wills Jr. Dallas, Dante Fowler Jr. Denver, Ronald Darby. Detroit, Michael Brockers. Green Bay, David Bakhtiari. Houston, A.J. Kahn. Indianapolis, Quentin Nelson. Jacksonville, Ray Robertson Harris. Kansas City, Juju Smith-Schuster. Las Vegas, Bilal Nichols. Chargers, Khalil Mack. Rams, Allen Robinson. Miami, Raheem Mostert. Minnesota, Patrick Peterson. New England, Jonnu Smith. New Orleans, Jameis Winston. Giants, Darius Slayton. Jets, C.J. Mosley. Philadelphia, Brandon Graham. Pittsburgh, Minkah Fitzpatrick. San Francisco, Ray McLeod. Seattle, Shelby Harris. Tampa Bay, Cameron Brate. Tennessee, Robert Woods. And Washington, Curtis Samuel. All right, now I'm going to make bold predictions for every team. All right, first up is the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to say that Cliff Kingsbury will be the first coach fired. I know they just extended him, but I think they may come to regret that. I know they're missing Hopkins, and that's brutal. But I just don't think he's that good of a coach. And I know they just extended him, like I said. But I can totally see them whiffing and going in another direction. And then the second half of the season, I think they'll have a good second half to make themselves look respectable at 8-9. The Atlanta Falcons, I'm going to say that Desmond Ridder will be the starting quarterback by November. The Baltimore Ravens, I'm going to say that The Lamar Jackson contract extension is not done, and that becomes an absolute distraction throughout the season. The Buffalo Bills. I'm going to say that the Bills will end up being the 1 seed in the AFC, but still not make the Super Bowl. I don't think that's bold enough for this. But I'm going to say that James Cook ends up the team's starting running back by the second half of the season. That's bold. The Carolina Panthers, I'm going to say that Baker Mayfield doesn't bounce back to the same guys we once saw with Cleveland. It's just a hunch I have. Maybe he gets hurt again, for what we know. The Chicago Bears, I'm going to say that they're the team that really is just everybody's picking against them in their survivor pools each and every week. But that's too obvious. But I'm going to say for the Bears, I know everyone and their mother says they'll have the best record, but the worst record. But a lot of teams are 4-13. But I'm going to say that I think the Chicago Bears will end up with a number 3 pick in the 2023 draft. The Cincinnati Bengals. I am going to say for Cincinnati that they make a big trade acquisition at the deadline to improve their front seven. They're going to look at linebacker. They're going to see who's available in the trade market. And I can see them going after a couple guys, including Roquan Smith. How about that? Roquan Smith to the Bengals. The Cleveland Browns. I'm going to say that Kevin Stefanski will be fired at the end of the season. I just don't think he's that good of a football coach. I thought there was a chance he'd get fired last year, but he didn't. But I think he gets axed this season. The Dallas Cowboys. I also think that Mike McCarthy will get axed at the end of the season after the team fails to make the postseason. The Denver Broncos. I'm going to say that Russell Wilson has the best season by a Broncos quarterback since Peyton Manning in 2013. But he still won't get an MVP vote. The Detroit Lions. I'm going to say that the Hard Knocks jinx continues and they still win less than 7 games. But even that I don't think is bold enough. So I'm going to say that Jeff Okudah comes off his injury and becomes a CB1. How about that for some positivity? The Green Bay Packers. I'm going to say that Romeo Doubs becomes a big part of this offense and potentially becomes their WR1. The Houston Texans. I'm going to say that Davis Mills starts all 17 games barring injury. The Indianapolis Colts. I'm going to say that Matt Ryan proves to be a significant upgrade over Carson Wentz. And Matt Ryan has the best season by a Colts quarterback since Andrew Luck. The Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to say that Trevor Lawrence throws for more than 30 touchdowns and less than 15 picks. And throws for about 4,000 yards. But the Jaguars will still stink as a roster. The Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to say that Patrick Mahomes does not garnish an MVP vote this year. I said that about Russ Wilson. I think the same will be said about Mahomes. I think he'll be great, but not good enough. But here, I don't know if that is necessarily bold enough. considering how much everybody loves him. So for a bold prediction for the Chiefs, I'm going to say that Chris Jones has his best season ever now that he's back in his normal position. The Las Vegas Raiders, I'm going to predict that Davante Adams leads the league in receiving yards. There's a lot of good receivers out there. I think he's it. The Los Angeles Chargers, I'm going to predict that they finally win the Super Bowl, obviously. And Justin Herbert's obviously the MVP. But my prediction for the season for the Chargers is that Brandon Staley will really prove a lot of us wrong and emerge as a top 5 coach in this league. The Los Angeles Rams, I'm going to predict, will add yet another big name at the trade deadline this year. I don't know who that is. I think that could be Leonard Williams of the Giants if they decide to sell. It could be, and that kind of fits their mold too of not just superstars, but with players that really haven't worked out in previous destinations, like what happened with Leonard Floyd there. So that's a good example of that. I do think they'll bring back Odell, but I don't think that's really that bold. But I do think they acquire a big name at the deadline. Maybe it's Saquon Barkley for what we know. That's an interesting one. If the running backs get hurt or don't work out, I could see a world where Saquon's in play for them. And then if Odell's back, and I could see them trying to get Saquon, that's a good call. But I'm going to say it's a pass rusher, and it's probably like Leonard Williams of the Giants or Robert Quinn. I like Robert Quinn for them, reunited with the Rams. I like Robert Quinn, so I'm going to go Robert Quinn to the Rams. The Miami Dolphins. I'm going to predict that Teddy Bridgewater starts multiple games for this team, whether Tua gets hurt or is just inefficient. So I'm going to say that Teddy Bridgewater gets multiple starts for the Dolphins. The Minnesota Vikings, I'm going to predict that Kirk Cousins finishes in the top 5 in passing yards. I think he has a ton of weapons, and I think it's time for him to really have a big season. The New England Patriots, I'm going to predict that this is the first time for Bill Belichick with the Patriots that he will have a double-digit loss season. The New Orleans Saints, I am going to predict that they also are a team that makes a trade at the deadline. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it's Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't know if that'll actually be it, but I wouldn't be completely stunned if it was indeed Jimmy G in New Orleans. If Jameis flops or gets injured again, I could see that. Maybe they're a Saquon team if Kamara gets suspended. So that's an interesting one. The New York Giants. I'm going to predict for them that, like Teddy Bridgewater with Miami, I think Tyrod Taylor gets multiple starts with the Giants, whether it's because Daniel Jones gets hurt or if he's inefficient. Same deal with Tua. I'm going to make this prediction with the Giants with Tyrod Taylor. The New York Jets. I'm going to predict that their recent trend of every other year firing coaches comes to an end, as I think they'll give Robert Saleh a 3rd season. The Philadelphia Eagles, that could be the Jimmy G team if Hurts doesn't work out or if he gets hurt. I just thought of that. But I'm not going to predict that at all. I'm going to predict for Philadelphia this year that one of their offensive linemen, who's the tackle, Jordan Malnata will emerge as their best offensive lineman if he isn't already. Lane Johnson gets more pub, and rightfully so. But I do think that Jordan Mailata will emerge as their best offensive lineman, as he really kind of made a name for himself being on The Masked Singer this past year. But I do think that he'll emerge as their top tackle, although I have Lane Johnson ranked higher than him in the tackle rankings. The Pittsburgh Steelers. I'll predict that Kenny Pickett is the starting quarterback before Halloween. And he'll get fans really, really pumped. They'll pull off some upsets as over 2-1 underdogs with Pickett, potentially, depending on who they play and what the lines are and whatnot. But I think you'll see Kenny Pickett as the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers before Halloween. The San Francisco 49ers, I'm going to say Jimmy Garoppolo is not traded. Talk about that for bold. I think they keep Garoppolo around. And I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up replacing Lance because of an injury or inefficiency. But I'm going to say that they keep Jimmy G on the roster past the trade deadline and into January. The Seattle Seahawks. I'm going to predict that Drew Lock ends up starting more games than Geno Smith, because I know Drew Lock's really bad, but he still has more upside than Geno Smith. I'm sorry. I just think Geno Smith absolutely sucks. But if you want another one for Seattle in terms of what could be bolder, I'm going to say that Kenneth Walker replaces Rashad Penny as their starting running back. I think that's a good one as well. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I'm going to predict for them that Tom Brady will not be in the top 8 in passing yards this year. Will not. It's just a gut feeling I have. I think he'll still be good, but I just think the quarterback crop is loaded. I could see, obviously, Burrow and Herbert having more passing yards than him. Mahomes, Rodgers, Stafford, maybe Lamar, and obviously Josh Allen, and maybe somebody like Jameis, for what we know. So, yeah. Brady not in the top 8 in passing yards. I almost wanted to say top 10, but I think that is too much, especially for the GOAT. But I think these 8 quarterbacks are likely to have more passing yards this season than Tom Brady. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, Derek Carr, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Matt Stafford. There's your 7. Or your 8, my bad. The Tennessee Titans, I'm going to say that rookie quarterback Malik Willis makes multiple starts this season, whether it's because of a Ryan Tannehill injury or if Ryan Tannehill's just awful and he's benched. And my last prediction for a team is the Washington Commanders. I am going to predict something similar along those lines. I'm going to say that Taylor Heineke gets multiple starts, whether it's because of a Carson Wentz injury or because he's benched. So there you have it, my bold predictions for the season for every team. Now, quickly, I want to do Ewing Theory, guys, to close out part 1 of the predictions podcast. Obviously, Ewing Theory is Bill Simmons' thing that he came up with when the 1999 New York Knicks made the NBA Finals without Patrick Ewing, although they lost to the Spurs. Therefore, he calls it the Ewing Theory. I think that Carson Wentz and Bryce Harper are the kings of it now because both those stars either left their team in free agency or got hurt, and the team won and was better without him. Like the Nationals with Harper leaving in free agency, they win the World Series the next year. Wentz tears his ACL, in comes Nick Foles, they're a better team, and they win the Super Bowl. So I have a couple candidates for every team. Cardinals, Chandler Jones. He left in free agency. Atlanta, Matt Ryan. Obviously, that's a good one. I don't think I have one for Baltimore. I don't really have one for Buffalo either. Carolina upgraded a quarterback, so That's not great. Chicago, Khalil Mack. Maybe their defense is better without Khalil Mack. Probably not, though. There's none on Cincinnati that jumps out to me. Cleveland, Baker Mayfield, duh. At least the first 2/3 of the season. And then obviously Odell as well. The Dallas Cowboys, obviously Amari Cooper would be their Ewing theory candidate. Denver upgraded a quarterback, so I can't go there. Detroit, there's not really one for me for them either. Green Bay, Devontae Adams is the obvious one. Houston, it's still Deshaun Watson because they just traded him this calendar year. Wentz to Ryan's an upgrade, so that doesn't count for Indy. But maybe T.Y. Hilton is a Ewing theory candidate. There's the obvious one for Jacksonville is Urban Meyer, but you can't get worse than Urban Meyer as an NFL coach, so that doesn't count. Kansas City, the obvious one is Tyreek Hill. The Raiders, there's really not one for Las Vegas for me. I don't think there's one for the Chargers or the Rams in theory, unless you want to say Von Miller for LA, which is an interesting call. Miami doesn't have one. Minnesota, I don't think has one either. New England's kind of still Tom Brady in theory, but I think it's already proven that they're much, 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 much worse without Tom Brady like we all thought. So there isn't really one on New England. New Orleans, there's not really one on that team unless it's Sean Payton. Ooh, Sean Payton, because that's a downgrade at head coach. Why not throw a coach in at Ewing theory? Why not? Giants, I really don't have a Ewing theory pick for them per se. Maybe James Bradbury in the secondary. Jets, Mekhi Becton. Philly, I don't think there's really one for Philly either because the roster is really good. Pittsburgh, Ben Roethlisberger, that is the easiest one on the board. But to me, that's more of a long-term thing for Pittsburgh, just like the New England Tom Brady one it kind of is. But to me, we know the answer to that one. But from a long-term standpoint, Ben Roethlisberger for Pittsburgh's obvious. Because many people, including myself, feel that they have an upgraded quarterback. But to me, like I said, long-term Ewing theory for the Steelers without Ben Roethlisberger. San Francisco, Jimmy G, even though he's still on the roster. Seattle, Russell Wilson, that's obvious. Tampa Bay, maybe Jason Pierre-Paul, because I don't think he's on the roster anymore, is he? I don't think so. He's a free agent. Tennessee, A.J. Brown, that's an obvious one. And then Washington, there's no really an obvious one on Washington unless if Chase Young's out for the whole year, which he's not. But I couldn't think of one for the Commanders either. So that finishes part 1 of the 2022 NFL season's prediction show. Part 2 will be the gambling part. So I'm looking forward to that, although it'll be much shorter than part 1.